All right, everybody. It was a very pleasant end to the difficult Arsenal season and is promptly just launched into a very, very important summer. Welcome to the latest edition of the Daily Gooner pod here on the Sports Talkline Network. I am one of your co-hosts, Raphael, joining you from the United States, joined by my weekly compadres here from in the UK, Sam. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, mate. Hope you're well.
And Ryan. Welcome, Ryan.
Hello, mate. Glad to be back.
All right, a wide platter of topics to talk about. Rumors, hot rumors right now. The Bissouma rumor seems to be boiling over. We'll get to that in just moments. Those of you who are waiting for transfer news, but let's begin. Ryan, I'm going to start with you. On the weekend, season ended. Let's start with the beginning. Fans in the stands. It was great to see fans in the stands at the Emirates and everywhere else in the Prem, for that matter.
Absolutely. It just gives a better atmosphere. It feels more normal. You like just some sort of normality.
Yes, and of course the club gave the fans something to go away with, a 2-0 win. Sam, we'll just go to you. We'll be bouncing back and forth. But I guess one of the best, appetizers for next season, shall we say, if this is the send-off, is the play of Nicolas Pepe. 4 goals in the last 2 games. I'm going to raise my hand because, at the end of the January window, I was one of those people bringing up the topic, should this club consider selling him? Is he working out? Does he fit Arteta's system? It seems that over the last several months, he dedicated himself, he bought into the program, and we're seeing finally the player that was teased to us when he came from France 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, and it seems to have clicked for Nicolas Pepe, I think. It was interesting on Arteta's comments a couple of weeks ago saying that he's really bought in. He's a lot more fleeting in terms of his thinking. And that it's essentially clicked for him, and he's more dedicated and he's hungry to get better. I think the structure and the players alongside him help as well, rather than say Hector Bellerin behind him. But the players are striking up an accord with him, and it's bringing out the best of him. And essentially, that's what we've needed for quite a while, and it looks very promising moving forward. And if this is going to be the player that we're getting from the start of next season, then I reckon he's going to score bags and assist.
Well, stay with you. Like, what do you think his floor would be if he got proper players around him? And we're going to talk about who he needs around him to bring out the best of Nico Pepe. But 4 goals. He was big in the Europa League drive, even though that was disappointing in the end. He scored some big goals there as well.
I think the minimum returns that I'd be expecting would be, I'll go a bit conservative, so I'll say 12 goals, 7 or 8 assists.
But that kind of production, I mean, that's Robert Pires level production. I mean, that's what this club has needed desperately for some time. Ryan, let's go to you. Let's stay with Nico Pepe, because we've talked a lot on this pod over several weeks that he hasn't had a consistent right back, somebody who works with him, somebody who overlaps with him. But, looking back, taking a second look at this match, what stood out for me is that he also missed another piece in that middle of the season where really nobody in the offense was scoring. And that is having a proper number 10 behind him. And it seems that he and Martin Odegaard had a real tight, they have a communication going. It seems that with a right back, keeping Odegaard might be just as important this summer.
Yeah, and I think you saw it when Arteta took over and he played Ozil in the number 10. And Pepe exploded at the end of that season as well. And then you bring in Odegaard this year, and exactly the same thing has happened. He ended the season very similar to how he ended the last campaign, with numerous assists, numerous goals. And I think why he enjoys playing with a number 10 so much is they drag one player away from him. If we play with 3 midfielders, the defensive midfielder can always sit on the most dangerous attacking player we have. which is usually him. So when you've got number 10 in there occupying that player, Pepe is left with the opposition winger and the opposition left back, which then, if we've got an overlapping right back, their winger follows him and Pepe's left 1v1. And I say it every time we talk about him, he will beat any player 1v1 in the Premier League. We've seen it against Van Dijk, Diaz, name it. He beats them 1v1. And that's what he needs. He needs the right components around him to really make him explode. And we're seeing glimpses of it. We just need to see it more consistently.
Okay, I'm going to stay with you before I take this question to Sam, because again, it seems he needs both. He needs a right back. He needs to keep his 10. How important, so let's put it on a scale of 1 to 10, is it for Arsenal, for Mikel Arteta, to keep Martin Odegaard this summer?
Oh, for me, he has to be a priority. Right back in number 10, especially Martin Odegaard, is an absolute priority. I think Odegaard, what he does, it doesn't show on the stat sheet. And I think that's the most compelling thing about him. He'll pass the ball to a certain player in a certain position where that player could make the pass first time. I think we saw it against Brighton, where Odegaard played it to Chambers and he just first time crossed it to Pepe and we scored. That sort of movement, the quick, snappy movement, that kills teams. And you've got someone in there, and no disrespect to him, done really well this season. But Joe Willock, he takes 3 or 4 touches and the chance is gone by the time the player on the other end of it gets it. Whereas Odegaard, straight into the fullback. We saw it against Newcastle, straight into Martinelli, Aubameyang scored. Odegaard just speeds everything up, that split second, which is the difference in these sorts of games.
All right, so Sam, let's stay with this. Again, a lot of topics, a lot of players, a lot of transfer chatter. But let's start with Odegaard and let's move away. Ryan brought up an interesting point in the Newcastle match. It seemed Arsenal kind of seems stuck in the mud. He comes on late and he serves a cross to Gabriel Martinelli on a plate, lets him tap it in. We're all, gnashing our teeth thinking, here's another chance, another 2 points dropped against a team below us on the table. And then suddenly out of nothing, 10 minutes, the magician pulls the rabbit out of the hat. There's 3 points. Arsenal needs that. Might they need 2 players like him this summer?
Yeah, it really depends on where you're going to define Emil Smith Rowe. Because for me personally, I think that he's better suited to be in the wing position and then drift in. But if we're looking at tweets from Fabrizio today and reports coming out today, looks like Buendia is going to be that guy to come in. Seems that that's picking up a lot of traction right now. So if we're looking at Buendia and Odegaard to take up that number 10 slot, then on a rotational basis, and also you can then start planning for different types of team as well. One comes in for one game, one comes in for another. You have that rotation, you have that freshness, especially being out of Europe as well. And if one isn't working, you've always got the other one so that you can try different ideas. So for me, if I'm Arteta, I'd be looking at them two to be coming in as a priority. All
right. We know Odegaard's very left-footed, even though he plays so effectively on the right. It's not really a hindrance to him. Again, it's his vision that makes him so special and his touch. Let's stay with this, but let's go to the end of the match. A lot of photographs, a lot of chatter on the social media after the match, because Nicolas Pepe, after his performance, made a beeline for his buddy Yves Bissouma after the match. Lots of photos of them smiling, arms around them. Last couple of days, even today, lots of photographs of his personal trainer. It seems that he got some Arsenal memorabilia from his buddy. Lots of discussion. Does this mean he's coming? Is this just friends? Just sharing shirts, exchanging as many do after the matches. How much fire is there to the Bissouma smoke, in your opinion, Sam?
I think there's quite a bit, because I said on Twitter earlier, if the personal trainer is dropping the most amounts of hints to say that he's potentially on his way, if he's not, then I don't know what the personal trainer's playing at, because you think, as you say, he had pictures of him at the Armory before the game, I think it was. You had him after the game taking photographs with them, and then I think one was today with Gabriel with the Arsenal scarf in the background as well. So all of it's relating around Arsenal, and you know these types of things. It tends to be a brother, a cousin, a personal trainer that tends to leak a move before it happens.
Right.
So for me, I think the evidence is there. It's just when it happens, and it'll be an early doors thing if it does happen.
All right, Ryan, staying with Bissouma, staying with Nicolas Pepe, we took, and this is something we've discussed, and I'm sure all you fans out there are looking at this as well. Arsenal pursuing a lot of players. They have a lot of players on their squad who will be participating in the African Cup of Nations come next February. Those players will be gone. Those whose clubs are strong and will advance at least a month. That needs to be a priority for this club. They can't. There are a lot of enticing deals out there, but they can't then try to raise themselves up in the table and have a promising season just collapse mid-season because they lose the core of their squad, can they?
No, and I think if we had signed Bissouma, it would be Bissouma, Partey, El Nene, Aubameyang, and Pepe, and that's a big chunk out of the starting 11, really. So we'd have to sign a centre forward to replace Aubameyang for that month. And midfield as well, we're going to be incredibly short in the middle during that January-February period, which is usually our weakest couple of months. And I think we'd be left with, if El Neni leaves, if Willock goes back to Newcastle, Ceballos is gone, I think we'd be left with literally just Xhaka. And that's just not enough. I think we need a couple more, maybe loan signings, or try to get a cheap deal done for someone else, maybe from a relegated club.
All right, so I'm going to stay with you, and we'll come back to Sam because again, there's so many targets. We've got all the time in the world here, and I know those of you who are watching want to know what we know, which considerable in some cases. We know there's a lot of chatter. Is Arsenal going to go for quality, say bring in 4 or 5? Are they going to go for quantity? Is this the summer of the quote unquote the big clear out? We know already, right? Ceballos is gone. He's back in Spain, I believe. It was immediately after the match. You've heard that Hector Bellerin is finding attention in Italy, so that's 2 out. 2 players almost certainly out. How many of you do you know are leaving at this point? By your off the back of the envelope calculations. This for you, Ryan. Sorry, wasn't clear.
What was the question again? Sorry.
How many outgoings do we know? I mean, a lot of people want a lot of players to come in. You know, some people are saying, well, let's just get 4 or 5 really quality players, but they need to push players out first. This is the problem they had in January. We know that some players are leaving already. We know, for instance, Dani Ceballos is gone. It's pretty clear that Hector Bellerin is probably leaving. Anybody else who you would add to that list at this point is pretty certain, like we've seen the last of him.
Kolasinac, most certainly. I think he's going to Lazio. Who else is there? I would say Reece Nelson is probably going to leave because he's not been in any squad for the last few weeks, which is, considering that we're quite short in the up front area where he could have played in front of some of the players, given Saka arrests and whatnot. Willian reports today coming out saying that he wants to leave Arsenal. Lacazette and Nketiah, they both have 1 year left on their contracts.
Oh, up to 7
Uh,
now.
I think.
What about Elneny? Is he leaving?
See,
In
the
your
thing
opinion?
is the thing with Elneny is he's so cheap and he doesn't do a lot wrong. He doesn't do a lot right either, but he's just there. And I don't think I'd just solely for midfield competition. I think I'd keep him. But if a good offer came in, I wouldn't be adverse to selling him. Maybe Cedric as well.
Mm.
I think I'd sell Cedric just so we have Chambers and Max Aarons at right back.
All right, Sam. Ryan just teed me up my next question. He anticipated it. You've seen it. I think those of people who have just joined us have seen it. Certainly in the last hour or two, lots of reports that Arsenal are looking at Emiliano Buendia, winger midfielder from Norwich City, just promoted. We've been talking the last several weeks, actually for like several months, about Max Aarons being a target at right back. Will this become a situation where Arsenal may have to choose one, or might they go for both? I mean, I did see a comment, I think I brought it up on the pod last week. Their chairman said that if the players were ambitious and they found good clubs that wanted them, he would not stand in their way. Is that kind of a subtle hint to Arsenal, like, well, if you're serious, show us some money?
Yeah, basically. And you think he also said along the lines of, if it beats our transfer, um,
The valuation, right?
yeah, if it beats the transfer valuations that they've got on the players, then they'll go, basically. And I think if you look at it realistically, if we slap down 30 million for Max Aaron and 30 million for Buendia and have it as a total of 60 million deal, it makes sense ultimately. And for us, it's not a massive outlay, because if you look at some of the players that we potentially could get rid of, 2 or 3 players, probably 2 players, gives you that transfer fee anyway. So you haven't even touched your core money of what you'd have. So for me, I think if we're in discussions with Norwich anyway for Buendia, Max Aarons is going to be a topic of discussion, and I think ultimately it'll come down to being a double deal.
And let's just stay with that for a second, because we haven't talked about right back, but we know that that's with midfielder, that's a priority position, along with keeping the 10 or keeping Martin Odegaard. They've got to fill that right back. Obviously, they need a backup left back, and we've been talking about that, and we can talk about that more. But that's a backup position. As filling out the starting 11 right back, it's got to be right up there.
Yeah, absolutely. If Bellerin's going, do you trust Chambers coming off the back of a long-term injury to sustain a full season? Probably not. You need somebody to come in and give that competition. Obviously, there is Cedric, but I think that he'll possibly leave, as like Ryan said earlier. So yeah, if you're looking at it as well, looking at the homegrown quota, we would need somebody to come in, and Max Aarons ticks a hell of a lot of boxes. He's been widely coveted across Europe and across the Premier League. So if we was to be able to get him in and steal him, it would be a big coup for us.
All right, Ryan, I'm going to let you touch on a rumor that you shared with us in the chat, probably about half an hour before we came on the air. I'm sure it's making the rounds on social media, but it seems almost too good to be true. We know Yves Bissouma is a target. A lot of chatter that some people are running around saying the deal is already done. I mean, we don't have confirmation of that, but I don't think it's a coincidence that a story came out, and the source better than I can, that Brighton Hove Albion covet Eddie Nketiah, and that seems to make the mesh almost too good to be true. Sure, we'll give you Nketiah and some cash if you can send Bissouma the other way. I mean, what more can you add to that rumor?
Well, if people remember, we actually brought the news of West Ham, Southampton, and Brighton being interested in Eddie Nketiah in February. So their interest isn't unknown. It's not new. So I think what Arsenal said to him is, we'll give you 20 million plus Eddie Nketiah for Bissouma. The Source app has tweeted it. I've not seen him before, but he's followed by all the top Sky Sports reporters. So I can only assume that he worked with them before. So it's not like he's an unknown to some people. So I think that would be an incredible deal on our behalf if we manage to get Bissouma plus Bissouma for Eddie and some money. Because as Sam tweeted, Eddie literally fits Brighton like a glove. That they struggle to score goals. They don't really need a striker that builds play up. They just need a poacher. And who better than Eddie Nketiah? Needs one touch, gets a goal mostly all the time.
All right, now staying with striker. Okay, we know that the Aubameyang got the big deal. Balogun got his extension just weeks ago. But with Lacazette going out and Aubameyang going to African Cup of Nations, this is suddenly a priority position. Maybe not as dire as right back, but it's a priority position. Ryan, who do you know of anybody on their radar? I mean, they have to be looking at this point.
Yeah, there's a few that's on the radar, but I'm not sure if any of them are feasible at this moment in time because we're unsure what's going on with Lacazette. I know Arsenal are looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Who else was there? Edouard from Celtic, who looked like he was signing for Leicester, but that seemed to have gone really, really quiet. And also available for 15 million, which is an absolute steal for anyone who buys him. And I think Weghorst from Wolfsburg, but he's being coveted by Jose Mourinho and Roma. So again, I don't really know what's going to happen with that position. There's a few names, but I don't know if and who would be coming in.
All right. Sam, are we missing something here? I mean, we've talked about the splash move, and we've talked about Buendia. We've talked about Ryan's talked about striker targets. I know you're a big fan of Ivan Toney from Brentford. Is Arsenal going to look, from what the names we've heard, are they looking to build like half a dozen solid buys, Bissouma, Buendia, rather than going for the big budget, let's splurge and throw 80 million, 90 million at one guy this summer? Is that the approach that Arteta seems to be laying out?
I think so. I think that we're looking at more functional players rather than the more flashy types, to be honest. We, as I've said to you guys many a times, we lack the players that will pick the game up by the scruff of the neck and drag the team through. And I think that we're looking at players that can do that to supplement what we've already got. In terms of a flashy deal, I saw today that Aouar could be bought between 22 and 27 million. That's cheap as chips. That could be your flash deal, the named deal, so to speak.
That is true. I hadn't thought about that. It's flash, but a budget flash, right? Bargain flash.
Yeah, and also if you think about how everybody's reacting on Twitter, saying that we need an exceptional summer, that's really stemmed from the Bell. That hasn't stemmed from the club, because Bell tweeted that KSE want to do something exceptional this summer. So it appears to be seen so far for me. But I think right now, I think that the plan is to do more functional signings rather than flash.
Okay. Are you still lighting that candle for Ivan Toney at this point?
Yeah, for me, absolutely. I think.
I mean, we all have our pets. You know, I don't want to throw cold water on the Jack Grealish rumors because Ryan will make a face at me. But Ryan, do you agree with Sam's assessment that this is going to be, let's just get lots of solid let's put it this way. We talked about this on our group, what we might call the early Liverpool model when they were in their rebuild, where they found a lot of players, quality players, squad players off clubs that were at the bottom of the table, clubs that were being relegated. They were able to buy players on bad clubs, and the fans were not all that impressed with them. But Liverpool was able to realize that's just a good player on a bad team, and they were able to get him for cheap. Is that kind of where Arsenal is right now?
Yeah, with Buendia and Max Aarons, they play for a really good team, really good attacking style, and that sort of thing. I think they'd fit straight into the Arsenal lineup. I don't think there'd be any issue with them. And yeah, Bissouma, he's a really good player playing for a really bad team. Graham Potter's done really well, Brian, but they're not a good team, not a great team that are making Bissouma look good. Who else is there? Yeah, it's very similar to how Liverpool went about things, and also how Leicester went about things. Leicester won the league in 2015 with Fuchs and Danny Simpson at fullback. And you can't tell me that they, with the right system and the right way of playing, it doesn't matter where they come from. Functional players, as Sam says, they work. As long as they fit the system, you don't need big names.
So at this point, have you kind of put the flasher deal aside? I mean, it seems. Let's talk about the report. I'll throw this out to kind of give you food to chew on. There was a report on Monday that looked at VAR and VAR's impact on Arsenal, particularly. It said that if VAR didn't exist, Arsenal would have finished fourth this season. Is some of this down to bad luck? I mean, obviously they had a terrible start. The first 14 games of the season were dreadful. But
yes, some of it can be down to bad decisions and bad luck, but really some of the performances that I saw this season were just astronomically bad. 3-0 against Aston Villa at home, the 1-0 against Everton, or 2-1 against Everton away. Some of the performances, as well as bad decisions, we know referees in England are very incompetent. They really don't know what they're doing. But we haven't helped ourselves either with some of the performances. The game against Liverpool where we got absolutely battered 3-0, didn't even lay a glove on them. So it's not just bad luck and bad decisions, it's also bad performances, which, as we're going on about players coming in, it's because of the players that are on the pitch that aren't good enough.
all right, Sam, it's time for the obligatory Granit Xhaka nod. Again, he's a player a lot of fans love to yell at, say nasty things about him, but he was named this week to the All-11 Prem squad. Deserved, in your opinion? Certainly, would get my vote for Arsenal Player of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most underrated players in the league. And the fact of the matter is, Arsenal without Granit Xhaka in that side is a much, much poorer side. There's no two ways about that. Granit Xhaka makes us tick, essentially. And putting somebody like Partey next to him allows Granit to show what he's best at, and vice versa with Partey. It also, with Granit, he also allows, if Kieran Tierney's injured, he allows Saka to push up the pitch if Saka's selected at left back. He's done a fine job for us at left back, so he's been selfless in where he played because he apparently offered himself up for that. So for me, he's a very underrated player, and a lot of people, if they actually watch him, not the whole game, watch him and his movements, he's very smart in what he does. If you take the pre-assist for one of the goals at the weekend, he went to do the pass, lost it, sprinted, made the challenge, and that allowed Odegaard to pass it down to Chambers for Chambers to cross it in for Pepe. I think it's very deserved, and if he was to leave in the summer, it would be a miss. But I think I think there's players out there that we can upgrade on him, but it'll be a big miss in the changing room and his leadership as well.
All right, and getting to that point, another player that we know is leaving that it kind of missed us, Ryan, was David Luiz. Had a very emotional going away meeting with the club. I know you like Sam have been a staunch defender of Granit Xhaka, knowing that Luiz is gone, knowing that a player like Lacazette could very well be going. That a lot of the 30, Willian is all but gone. The 30-something, there are not many on the club. That Aubameyang, I mean, Granit Xhaka's not 30, but he's getting close. But the elder statesman of the club, it's probably not wise for Arsenal to get rid of all of them at once, is it?
No, you're absolutely right. And when Louise goes, if Lacazette goes, if Bellerin goes, that's your core leadership group. And it'll only leave Xhaka and Aubameyang. But I wouldn't really say Aubameyang is a leader in the dressing room. He's more of a example setter. Like, I'm going to score a hat-trick here, follow my lead kind of thing. Whereas Xhaka is in the dressing room, talking to everyone, making sure everyone knows their job, knows what they're doing. And if he does go, that would be a huge, huge miss. And just to touch on David Luiz, just looking at his Instagram, all the youngsters in Hale End and the under 21s, under 18s, are all commenting saying they're going to miss him because he took time out of his day and watched the under 21s, under 18s, and was helping them through their transition into professional football. And he's going to be a very, very big miss, especially with Saliba coming back.
On that topic, youngsters development, Sam, we should touch on this. Steve Bold, who's been with this club forever as a player, as an assistant under Arsene Wenger, he was the youth manager last several years, was let go immediately after the under 23 season finished. First off, was it time for that? Did it catch you by surprise? And with him gone, what direction does it appear Per Mertesacker wants for the youth academy?
Obviously, you absolutely have to respect what Steve Bold has done for this club and the amount of time that he's dedicated to this club. First and foremost, you cannot get away from that. In regards to the under 23s, do I think it was time for a change? Yes, I do, because it wasn't a good campaign at all from the under 23s, and they I think they just survived relegation. So ultimately, we do know that under 23s isn't necessarily about the results, but if you want to develop your players, you need to install that winning philosophy from the beginning, and that goes through all the age groups. If somebody isn't meeting their targets, then Per's got every right to look at that, critique their season, and think if they haven't done well enough, then they've got to go. And you've got to think as well, Steve Bold has had a difficult year because a lot of the under 23 starters were loaned out, but you've got to do with what you've got at your disposal, and frankly, it wasn't good enough.
All right, some good questions in the chat. So let's involve our listeners. Let's start. Just go back to the top. Have you heard? Let's start with the Eduardo Camavinga rumor, Ryan. He's a player of interest for Arsenal. I think a lot of people were surprised when his name surfaced a few weeks ago, but it does appear that interest is genuine. A lot of reports today that PSG wants him. It seems that he wants PSG as well. Very talented, very young. Has he even turned 19 yet? I don't know if he has. He's only 19. He's tall. He's athletic. Would be a great get for Arsenal, but it seems like all the chatter is he's going to PSG or could go to PSG. Rumor today that Rennes quoted PSG a price of 100 million euros, which seems a bit outrageous because Camavinga's in the last year of his deal. But now I'm seeing reports, some fans have put it in the feed here, that PSG are offering 30 million euros. That seems awfully light. It would probably open the door for other bids. First off, Ryan, do you rate him? Does Arsenal really have a chance at this guy, or is the PSG interest and the mutual interest just a little too much to overcome, in your opinion?
Yeah, I rate him very highly, and Sam said it best. I hate using the word as well, but he is generational. He is unbelievable. His composure, his calmness, he never makes a wrong decision. And I think in a pre-COVID market, I think he would have gone for 100 million euros. He's that good. But I think now you're right. 30 million euros is a bit light. I don't think that'll get him. It could be Rennes just playing games with Arsenal. Say, oh, well, PSG a bid for him. What's your bid? What are you going to pay for him? But I do think we have a very good chance at him because AFC Bell said they spoke to people close to him that Camavinga wants guaranteed playing time, wants to know he's going to play all the time, which he's going to get at Arsenal. He's going to get chances with Arteta, who, by the way, has given most youngsters chance at Arsenal for the last 3 years. That's a different story. And European football is not a must, which when you look at Arsenal's targets, Pepe, Champions League is not a must. Gabriel, Champions League is not a must. But now Arsenal not in Europe, European football is not a must. It's too
easy to read between the lines there, right? Just a little too easy. Sam, Ryan brings up an excellent point about player development. And, that was Arsene Wenger's calling card. All those years where he was bringing in kids like Cesc Fabregas out of the Barca academy and putting him in when he was 16 years old. And that when the Emirates was being built, that was one of the tools that Arsene was able to employ, that he's able to find young talent before their prices exploded and said, come here, I will play you. I will develop you, but I will play you. And that was massive. When we look at Mikel Arteta this season, I mean, this is a topic we talked about really at the beginning of the year, but it's worth reiterating that, when we say the players of the year, aside from Granit Xhaka for this club, are Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe. And when you look at where they were a year ago and you look at where they're valued now, Mikel Arteta's generated well over £100 million worth of value just developing those two youngsters. That has to catch the attention of a player like an Eduardo Camavinga or, Yves Bissouma, like all these players that Arsenal is targeting who are around 20 years of age.
Yeah, I think with that as well is that it shows a lot of faith in young players' ability, and it goes back to the old adage: if you're good enough, if you're young enough and you're good enough, you're going to play. It's as simple as that. And I think Arteta's got that mantra well ingrained into the squad. I know a lot of people will point to the case of Balogun, but you've got to think in regards to that as well. There's a lot of posturing in regards to the contract extension, and looking at Balogun's interview when he was signed his extension, he turned around and said a lot of the talk is around next season, not this season. So for players looking in at the club, it kind of reminds them of Arsenal of old, going, oh, they're reverting back to youth and putting their faith in youth athletic players. So I think with that in mind, and you think about the pool that Arsenal have still got because of Arsene Wenger's glory years, it's something that people are going to look fondly on. And Arsenal is still, as much as people don't think they are, is still a massive, massive draw for a lot of players around the world.
All right, Ryan, another question from the chat. Some rumors, and they appeared immediately after the season finale on Sunday. I saw them Monday morning when I was logging on the social media that Edu might be on the hot seat. He was not present in the owner's box or with the ownership group on Sunday. Josh Kroenke was there, Vinay was there, and mysteriously absent was Edu. Some fans wondering if there's any smoke, if there's any fire to that smoke, and if Edu's in a shaky position, if this is his thing for his supper summer, if you will. Who might Arsenal look to replace him? Obviously, they just brought Richard Garlick in, and he was a director of football before he came to Arsenal. Is he part of that, or might they look outside the organization?
I think if the rumors are true and Edu's job is on the line, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we're doing it just before a transfer window, and it just goes to show how poor footballing knowledge that we have on the board level. Because if we go into this season without having a proper director of football, after all the plans have been submitted to the owners, it's stupid, because it really ruins our chances of getting these players in early doors. And then that hurts Arteta by not giving them a full pre-season. But I don't think they are true. I think Edu is on his last lifeline after the last couple of windows, messing up the Awar deal, messing up the Bertrand deal in January. I think he will be the next one out if things don't go well. And there's a few names we can replace him with. Campos from Lille done an absolutely incredible job with them. It's in the chat as well. They said he suits to Kroenke's because he makes us money by selling big, and he also makes us a force again by buying cheap. So him, you got Rangnick from Leipzig. He's an incredible director of football as well. But I think he wants to be a manager though. But again, Richard Garlick, he's got the knowledge, the know-how, the experience of being a director of football before. So we might not actually have to get someone external in. We could just maybe promote him into that role, see how he does closing the deals this summer.
All right. One more from the chat. And Sam, you're going to have to help me pronounce this young man's name. He plays for Hibs. It's Josh. Is it Doug? How do I pronounce his name? He's a left back.
I'm going with Doig.
Doig. No, but tell me about his game. We'll forget about our butchered pronunciations. Tell me about this young man's game.
Essentially,
is he a legit target?
I think he's somebody that is being looked at, because if you look at the way that we want to play, and he's got the characteristics of Kieran Tierney, so essentially Kieran Tierney 2.0. I think if that's the way that we want to go, and given Kieran's unlucky injuries this season, having a good young understudy like Doig will be beneficial, and especially it'll be seamless for him to come and step in if Kieran's out. But I've discussed this with Ryan previously. With the experience that we've let go out of the back line with David Luiz, I think that we probably should be targeting a older backup, say Bertrand or a Van Aanholt, to give that bit of experience in the back line. But ultimately, it depends on what Arteta wants to do and whether we're planning short term for the next couple of years to allow our youth to develop, or whether we want to bring a young player in to really push Kieran up another couple of levels and to push the youngster up a couple of levels also. All
right. Another rumor that's kind of slipped through the cracks. So I'm glad I caught it, but because we're getting a little long here on the pod, but we'll talk transfers until we run out of breath here today. Ryan, rumors this morning that Arsenal are looking at the Bayer Leverkusen center back Edmond Tapsoba. Right-sided center back, left-sided center back. Can he play either side? Is this a serious rumor in your opinion? And if Arsenal's pursuing him, A, what would he cost? And B, who would he push out the door?
So I did some research after I saw the rumors. He can play either side. He's played as many times on the left as he has the right. So really, he just replaces David Luiz, literally like for like, because he's very good on the ball. He has that long diagonal switch to play on the left, to play on the right. So I don't. I think it'd be a good signing. I'm not sure if it's true or not. He has
21 years old.
Yeah, he has a 44 million release clause,
Mm.
which is quite steep. But was also linked to Conde from Sevilla as well, who's just a legit right-sided centre back. So obviously we are looking for a David Luiz replacement. But I'm not sure we need one because I think Saliba is going to step up. I know pinning all my hopes on a 19-year-old is very naive, especially in the Premier League. But when we played in the Europa League against the Portuguese side, Gomes, I think that's who they were. He played for them and he was phenomenal against us in both games. So I think he has the potential to be an absolute worldie. So if we sign him, I'll be delighted. If we don't, I won't be upset because we do have Saliba.
Right. And Sam has said he's very excited to come back. And I think we're all excited to finally see this young man.
Can finally wear my shirt.
Arsenal uniform. Yeah, that too, right? We're just getting started in the silly season, but it's so important. Same question we ask seemingly at the end of each episode. Which of these rumors are the strongest, Sam? Which players are you prioritizing? And a week from now, when we come back, when we do our next pod, who do you hope to see holding the Arsenal shirt in that span?
I'd probably like to see Buendia and Aarons, but I'd also like to see some news surrounding Martin Odegaard, because I will point one thing out that's quite interesting as well, is that we had goodbye messages from Ceballos and Matty Ryan, but no goodbye message from Martin Odegaard.
And you've just sucked me into another topic that we forgot, but let's discuss this. The Sander Berge connection, right? He is another name that's been connected. His club was relegated. A lot of talk. This was about 2 weeks ago that he could be in a package deal with Odegaard. Is that another player, given that a player like Bissouma and a player like Partey could be leaving? Is that another player Arsenal could target, Liverpool style at a reasonable price?
Yeah, I think so. I think with Sander Berge, with Bissouma and Partey both departing for the African Cup of Nations, and it's a question that I asked on Twitter, do Arsenal plan for it now, or do they attack the loan market aggressively in January? I think that we need to address that now, because it then gives us that depth and quality as well. And with Sander Berge, I don't want to say he was misused at Sheffield United, but they bypassed him and missed out on a big part of his game. And for a tall guy, he's got exceptionally good feet and a really decent range of passing as well. So I think that if we were to target him, he would really suit Arsenal, and I think anything under 20 million would be brilliant.
All right, Ryan. So Berge, Odegaard, Norwegian national team buddies. They have a little chat with a guy who plays in Germany. He's named Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year over there. He's a striker. Will you take the crack pipe away from me? Because I'm fantasizing about a German.
No,
a Norwegian.
No, I'm not going. I'm not taking it off you at all, because I was literally about to say, if it means us going hard for him next season, I'd keep Lacazette for this one and just sign Haaland next year. 100 million, there you go. Sign him. What's his release clause next year? It's 55 or something, isn't it?
Well, we earlier in the pod, we said, let's put the big splash, the crazy move out of the way. I saw a quote about a week and a half ago from Dortmund's chairman saying, if we sold him, we would not ask 100 million. We'd ask for less, assuming 85, 90 million. But if you got his two buddies on the club and you're signing all these, shall we say, reasonably priced, let's use euphemisms here, and you've got one crazy splash move. I mean, we've been talking about Jack Grealish, and let's keep fantasizing them until it's impossible. Let's throw the names out there. But I remember a year ago, I asked the two of you at the beginning of the season, who's the price is no object, who's the crazy player? And that was the name that came up. That's the one you gave me, was Haaland. So, okay, I mean, I'll smoke the pipe. Why not?
I mean, you look at it, this is probably the best summer. If we're to sign a big player, it has to be this summer. Barcelona, they're in financial, they are bad financially.
Barca are budget
They're having
buying
to
this
sign
summer,
free
which is really surprising, right?
Yeah, all their transfers are free. Real Madrid can't afford anyone, and if they're going to, it's going to be Mbappe. City are going for Harry Kane. Chelsea are probably going to go for Lukaku. Come over here, Erling. We'll sign
Play with your
Odegaard and
buddies,
Bird
right?
for you.
Play with your buddies,
Yeah,
right?
just come over. You can bring your ball too. Come
on. all together, right? Okay. Well, we're here to spread good tidings, good thoughts, good hopes for Arsenal Football Club. We're going closing in on an hour here, so I guess we're in injury time. In that vein, throw a crazy. That's my crazy rumors. Like I hope to see the link. It's improbable, but I'll say this: if they got Berger, they kept Odegaard, I'd say the odds of Haaland go from negative infinity to maybe 0.7%, and I'll take those odds. That's my opinion. Ryan, you get the final word this week. What do you get to say?
Arsenal going to sign Jack Grealish this summer.
Okay. No, I got to be fair. Sam, you get the final word. What's your pie in the sky? What football meteors are going to fall this week or next week or this summer?
I'm going to go a bit controversial. Go towards the politics side of things and say that Boris Johnson's going to get found out around the Super League stuff.
Interesting. Okay, something to watch. We want to thank all of you out there. We've had a healthy crowd. First of all, we want to thank you for all the wonderful questions in the chat. Happy to answer them as best we can. We want to thank you for staying with us. We're hoping a very exciting summer for Arsenal Football Club. Come back next week and follow us. Go through the summer with us and hopefully going into a better new season. I think the little winning run at the end has put us all in a good mood. So, I want to keep us there. So for my colleagues in London, for Sam, for Ryan, I'm Raphael. Thanks to all of you out there. Come back and see us next week, and good night.